Clash of Clans podcast, OG, episode 30. The Dirty 30.
Skilly beep boop beep boop skilly beep.
Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. I'm joined here with my co-host and partner in crime, the magnificent, the marvelous, the truly terrific Tip Dog 20.
Truly, you have new adjectives for me every single week. I'm honored,
Yeah,
for sure.
I'm just gonna let him fly from now on. I think I restrain myself on a weekly basis, so
Break out the thesaurus.
Yeah.
Thesaurus.
just let him fall. Half the time I don't know what's coming out of my mouth anyways, so what do you do? Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back, Tip Dog. It is good to catch up with you because always I think the hard part for me is when we first get to the podcast and try not to talk about things. And last week we were joined by Magic Jr. talking about the Clash King stuff. So you and I really haven't got to catch up for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's been a while because we didn't really get to talk much last week for the interview.
Yeah,
But-
we just touched base and we talked a little bit here and there throughout like the week or in game. Well, and of course, if I watch your videos, I feel like I've just had a conversation with you. So, what is happening? What is new?
I've been working so much this week, so I haven't been in the game a whole lot. I know we have the Clashversary. Do you have like any feelings about how the new troops are going or the event? Like honestly, to me, it doesn't feel like super special. Like so in the past, they've really kind of done up Clashversary in a way. And maybe I'm thinking of the 10th anniversary of
Oh,
Clash more
yes, sir.
so, but this just kind of feels like another event. Although we did get 2 event troops this time, when in the past we've only got 1. But other than the event troop, like it doesn't feel really any different.
Well, is the clan game extra rewards? Is that something new?
Is it an extra level or an extra tier? I didn't even look at
Yeah,
that. I know that we got a book of everything, but do we get an extra tier in clan games?
You know,
Honestly, I don't know because
can't
I
say
haven't been in the
without
game.
I can't say without any certainty because um I'm just not confident in my knowledge anymore stepping out of that time machine. But I thought it was adding like 3 tiers to the event. Rewards it goes up to oh, maybe not. Never mind, I'm an idiot.
No. How many tiers are there? Like, does it go up
There's
to
1,
6?
2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7
So that
tiers.
is it. Are there normally 6 tiers?
That's what I thought. I thought there was normally 6. And so I thought there was 2 more. Let me see here. I don't know. I thought well, here was the one thing that it was the clan getting up to 50,000 instead of 75,000 is what was thought. And so my thought was that they increased the tiers, and we thought to get to the final tier, it would be 75,000 or
Mhm.
is that
70,000 or whatever that is.
Yeah.
It is normally a little higher. They do that for special events, but like I said, like I haven't even really been in game that much, so I haven't really. I didn't even notice it. But I guess that is something special if they have that extra tier because we get more prizes.
Well, when you looked at the clan game tier, you didn't get to see all the rewards.
I mean, I just glanced at them. I know that they were posted in the House of L Discord group.
That extra that book of everything's pretty uncommon, huh?
It is pretty uncommon. I mean, it ends up pretty much being a book of heroes, right? Like that's what we're all probably going to use it on, but it's nice to have it if we want to use it on a building that's longer than 12 or 13 days.
Well, what should you use it on?
I mean, ideally, you want to use it on whatever upgrade's going to be the longest. That way,
Yeah.
you get as much use out of it as possible. But it's no different than, I mean, if you were going to use it on a troop, then it's essentially a book of fighting. Or if you're going to use it on a hero, then it's essentially a book of heroes. Like it's just, you know,
I've been heeding your advice on that, by the way.
what do you mean?
Well, the hammers. I really thinking about it and thinking about it smartly because, last time we were talking about like going to 16 and I said I'm just gonna wait. But it really like is coming fast.
Hmm.
Like 16 is
Right
coming
around the corner for
right
you.
around the
Yeah.
corner. I mean,
I mean,
like with this bonus event this month, I've been doing like the middle of the ground upgrade. So when it's done, I'm gonna have just like the pretty much everything done at the top. With this event, all of a sudden I've got the two scatter shots to do. I've
uh-huh.
got
Are you using books on those?
yeah, I've got a book of everything, but I haven't been able to afford it.
Okay.
So I've got a book of or not a book of everything, but a book of building for my
Uh-huh.
scatter shot. Um, because everything above that's done. So my monolith is done, my eagle is done. My two scatter shots need to be upgraded one level. And so with the clan games, probably, and then I already have a book of building. Those two will go up. Then I have my four expos,
Mhm. Maxing
and
those out?
those right now are just 100 level.
Okay.
I'm working right now on my air defenses because I'm like, I'm nailing this out. I thought I had a couple more up a level, like
Mhm.
they were behind one level or something. So I've got those done. So or I'll have those done by the end of this month. So really, when I'm thinking about maximizing those books, right? At a certain point, once my scatter shots are done, and then, I had planned to do my expos to finish out the boost and, wrap up the season. Um, but now I'm kind of wondering if I shouldn't wait because the another, whatever books that are going to be coming up, those are the longest upgrades left.
Mhm.
And so everything else, I've got my builder huts working. Um, I just have one more spell tower to do to
Right?
the invisibility.
Yeah, I mean, you're doing it right. Like, you're using books of buildings for the longest timers is the way to do it, and especially with the 12% because this is the month that we have the 12% off the building upgrade times, right?
Yeah.
So it 100% makes sense.
So I guess what I'm meaning to say is that like in the next month, month and a half, 2 months, no, no longer than 2 months, I'm going to be at a place where I'm going to be sitting on books of building and only have, uh,
3-day upgrades to
yeah.
use it on.
So it's going to force me to go up in the
Yeah.
near future, but I'm going to really, uh, as soon as this boost is done, uh, go back and just start on the little things, all the traps.
Mhm.
Because when I went up to Town Hall 15, I think I gained a couple levels on some things I didn't even realize. And so I'll get those done and just and get a little bit beefier that way.
Right?
Um, all my elixir stuff is done already.
Dude, you're
Get
killing it.
this.
What are
Get
your
this.
heroes at?
I maxed my warden.
That's crazy.
When we
That's
sat here,
crazy.
when we sat here,
What was it?
like,
4 months ago, you were at, like, 32?
yeah.
I
Well,
think it
what
was.
did no, what did no, it was before that. So what did I think it was March, right? And I think I said to you, we were talking, and I remember this where you asked me what I think I said 27, and
I
you
don't
said,
I just remember it was
"Oh,
really low
yeah." All
because
I
you were
heard,
trying to do a warden walk with it, and you just, like,
I'm
I
like,
I was like, "Why can't you do a warden walk?" And you're like, "My warden is 27."
and you just
Oh,
go, "Oh,"
that's the reason.
and you went, and I was like, "Oh no," I'm like, "This is," and I thought to myself, I'm like, "I'm never gonna get that warden to 60 or 55 or 60 at that time." Because you got to remember, I've been grinding on heroes for like 5 years total,
Yeah, if you
probably at
count the
this
initial
point.
time, but you've hammered out not actually used hammers, but you've been able to finish more hero levels probably in the last month than you did the whole first 3 years of playing Clash of
Oh yeah,
Clans, right?
yeah,
I mean, if you're
and
looking at the
and
comparison.
and in the last like 5 months, more than all the levels I had ever put in to start off with,
Mhm.
which is amazing. I mean, I mean, I really thought there's no way I'm gonna be getting into a competitive play range with 50 levels left on this
Yeah. A
hero, you know?
and you know what the most frustrating, because I'm upgrading my heroes on my Strategic Rush account, the king and the queen have been the most frustrating because there are so many levels of those. So there are 95 altogether, and I think there are 40 or 45 on the RC, so literally half the levels on the RC, and I'm not asking for more levels on the RC and the Warden, right? Not at
Listen
all,
to
and
us,
then the
Super
Warden, I
Soul.
think, has max, what, 70 levels, but just because there are, what, 25 more levels on the king and the queen, that means they're that much farther behind my Warden and my RC. Like, I've been able to keep my RC and my Warden down pretty much this whole time, but my king and my queen, like, it's just I think my queen is 80 right now, and my king, I think, is like 75 or 76. So, I mean, they're getting up there. Like, they're almost at the point where I'm gonna stop and coast on hero books, but they're the most frustrating for sure, the king and the queen, because of all the levels that they have.
And, you know, when you're doing your attacks, like, I would look at them and I'd go, "Oh my god, his king and his queen, no, I just can't believe I can't do that. I've got this stuff." And they've been creeping up, and I'm like, "It's only, like, 10 levels away from that," you
Right.
know, and it's only 5 levels, and it's been cool
Well,
to
part of it
see.
too is experience. I mean, you have gained a ton of experience over these past 6 months, so
My
knowing
wise
how to
master.
use your you're
Oh,
you're so
Obi-Tip
funny, like,
Kenobi.
no, far
I'm
from
your
it.
Padawan.
It's I think one of the most frustrating things is the fact that hero equipment has gotten so powerful in the game, and I have my Town Hall 11, Town Hall 12, and Town Hall 13, which I do not have time for. Like, I'm playing 4 accounts right now. I do my legend hits on my main. I farm on my strategic rush account. I have Boimler, who's in House of L, and then I have NCC 1701D, which is Town Hall 14. Like, I have 4 accounts that I'm trying to play, and
Oh, surfing
Boimler
the
and
galaxy.
NCC. So I just uh,
So
it's
can you get all of your, like, daily bonuses on all of your accounts?
no. So, and that's the frustration, is because the way to upgrade your hero equipment on your accounts is to war and to get the daily bonus. And I'm not warring on my 11, 12, and 13, and I'm not getting my daily bonus in the 11, my 11, 12, and 13. So my hero equipment is stuck at like level 10, 9, 10, 11, and like it won't get upgraded unless I play those accounts. And even if I play those accounts, it's just still going to take me 6 months or longer to be able to get enough ore to max out those pieces of equipment on those accounts. So I maxed out those accounts so that I could use them for like competitive stuff, but they're not complete now because of hero equipment, because my hero equipment's not maxed out. And honestly, it's not super close to being maxed out either. So can I still
Uh,
3-star with, a level 11 Rage Vial and Barbarian Puppet? Sure, but it's so much easier if you have maxed out equipment to 3-star, that I log into those accounts and I'm just like, like, I don't know what else to do.
yeah.
And I just don't have the time to play those because I barely have enough time to play the 4 accounts that I'm playing right now
Well,
as it is.
it kinda makes me wonder, right? Because as you're saying that, I'm thinking to myself, w we've seen kind of a push towards, um, a cleanup of accounts, right? Like, the banned accounts or, like, the ones that have been bought,
Oh, right, right, right.
right?
Yeah.
Like, um and as you're saying that, it kinda makes me think that people who Supercell kind of has taken something and introduced something into the game that if you have walked away from the game, even though you had maxed it, those things are now behind, right? Like a maxed account 6 months ago is not a maxed account if somebody just stopped playing it. So
That's
that
true, and, I'm thinking it's almost it's pretty much impossible to bot up your equipment. because the only way, I guess you could get the daily bonus through a bot, but like a bot's not going to do war attacks. And
Like,
war attacks is one of the main ways to gain ore. So therefore, any botted account's going to have super low equipment just naturally because it's not using war as one of the main ways to. And also, like even with the daily bonus, like botted accounts aren't going to be in a super high league because they're not going to be doing quality attacks. So
and
it's going
you've
to be
got
in
to,
super low leagues. So the ore that a bot account is going to be able to gain is going to be super low. So
and you've
that's
really got to
interesting.
do like events, right?
Right? You have to
Like
do
this
events to get the pieces to do the extra. Yeah.
to
So
have like a wide range. Like, so if somebody stops playing, their account gets devalued
mhm,
because of a progression.
because they fall behind on the ore and the hero equipment, and
Y-
hero equipment's what makes an account so powerful right now.
yeah, which is, I mean, difficult for people who want to play multiple accounts. Um, but then
But I guess it's a
I
good
didn't
problem
think
for
about it for the
Supercell.
bots.
Yeah,
I
I mean, Supercell wants the botting to stop, so I mean, this is a way to do it, right?
Yeah,
I mean, because it would suck to have a max Town Hall 16 that you purchase for however much, and it has a level 5 Rage File and level 6 Barbarian Puppet, you know? Be
yeah,
like, "What? Why would I want this account?"
or doesn't have these other things in in and maybe it's just kind of a way because it has been coming out relatively quickly that maybe it is a way that over time, like where they can't introduce a full new troop into the game all the time, right? Like
Right?
it's a real major balancing process.
Right?
It is with the hero equipment, but I'd imagine it's a little bit more limited in
Right.
scope. And so that is a kind of like a constant ticking progression that
Yeah.
gives, um,
It definitely gives Supercell an edge over the botters, right? Which
yeah.
is interesting.
And if
What
and it would kind of break down, like you'd start to see it over time that maybe what happens then is that they discourage just by the amount of involvement required, the amount of second accounts to say, look, it's just not realistic to do 30 accounts a day, you
right.
know?
Which I wonder if that hurts them from a revenue point of view as well, because like it takes so because before in the past, you could essentially upgrade an account and spend minimal time on it, just as long as you could keep your upgrades going. I mean, typically your walls would suffer because you're not farming enough gold and elixir in order to keep your walls upgraded. But as long as you farm just enough to keep your upgrades going, you could play a second account and it wasn't an issue. Log in once a day or once every other day and still be fine. But now with hero equipment the way that it is, like you have to be super engaged. So I wonder if this affects Supercell from a revenue point of view, because if I'm like, man, it's super discouraging to have to continuously log into all these accounts. Like I'm just not going to
There's a
bother,
whole
I'm
country
not
with a
I-
nervous breakdown right now.
or I'm not going to play. I'm just like, this is too much. Like I can't do it. So either I cut down to 1 or 2 accounts, and those are the ones that I possibly spend money on, or I'm just like, I was enjoying playing 8 accounts before. I can't enjoy 8 accounts anymore. So therefore, I'm just going to quit playing Clans. I don't know. I'm not sure. It's interesting though. I never thought about it from that perspective.
Well, neither had I really. I mean, because you kind of taking it into, or I bet you they have these statistics that say things like the amount of money people will spend on a second account, on a third account. What's the
Right.
likelihood, the average player spends $0 on accounts 5 through 79. And it
Yeah.
would be, wow, that's kind of a makes me really makes me think about the whole ore economy and everything a little bit differently.
Well, because for example, I buy the gold pass on my main and I buy the gold pass on my strategic rushed. Those are the only 2 accounts that I actually spend money on. Now, whenever because they did the first time Gold Pass buyer, they reduced the price to $2.99. So I did buy it once on Boimler, but that was only because the Gold Pass was what, $3 rather than the $6.99 that it normally is. But like it went right back up to $6.99 the next month. So I'm like, I'm not paying $7 for the Gold Pass. So like I haven't spent any money on my third and fourth account since then.
Well, would it make a case then? Okay, so Hero Equipment's introduced, and and now that we're talking about this, I have kind of heard, or it seems like people that are playing multiple accounts are feeling the grind a little bit.
Yeah.
Kind of just background now that we're talking about it. Maybe it makes a case for minis to become a little bit more specialized, like a TH6 or like a TH14 error base, where you're
Could,
just
but
maxing the equipment that'll be really good for certain types of attacks.
yeah, and that's a good point. So, for example, at Town Hall 12, Super Witches have been the rage at Super Town Hall 12 for a really long time. So it would make sense, for example, to buy the Fireball and to focus on upgrading that piece of equipment for Town Hall 12. And for example, like we've talked about how the Healing Tome is super OP, and even in my equipment video where I recommended what pieces you should focus on as a strategic rusher, I said the Healing Tome, but if it's going to be a Town Hall 12 specialized account, the Healing Tome doesn't work with the Fireball. So it would make sense to ignore the Healing Tome on your Town Hall 12 if that's a specialized Town Hall 12 account, and to focus on the Rage Gem, for
Yeah.
example, because that's what pairs best with the Fireball. So it's definitely something to think about. I
Just
just
to kind of farm into specialties to like I think maybe that would be a kind of just reminds me of like the old days, a little bit of like going up and then a town hall and then just maxing the certain troops and
right.
um wow. Yeah, I hadn't really thought about that.
Well, what about you? Are you gonna I know you have a second account out there. Are you thinking about
You know,
farming?
I I don't think so. I Britney Spears exists. I've tried. I got to figure out how to log to get it back up. I mean, I've got the my information and everything, but I don't think I can be so many different places at at the same time. Like, I think for me, it just would have to be where, uh, like having to log on and do two different war attacks. I think it just unless I'm in the same clan, kind of thing.
Mhm.
So, um, I did think about it though that Brittany would be great when I eventually get maxed out and have a second account to like bring
To
up,
focus on.
yeah, and like go through all the because I think it she was a 9 or an 8 when
Have you and I my audio went out. Did you say what level Britney Spears
I
is?
don't even know.
Oh, you haven't even logged in a long
No,
time.
I have my login information, but I don't have but for some reason I when I was doing it, I was gonna try to load the village and it wasn't going right. And I just was like, "Oh, wait for another couple days because I'm afraid, right? Because I'm gonna get on there and I'm like, "Oh, this you know what? I'll just collect. Why not just
It
collect? I
it's a
should just
time
collect."
suck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I get when I sit down to do these when I get on there and I'm like, "All right, I'm gonna get an attack in." There's wars happening, so I'm like, oh, looking in there and get distracted. So I'm like missing rating opportunities,
Mhm.
um, and then you got everything going on. I'm just thinking if I don't, I just don't think I could do it. I want to keep sanity,
Yeah.
even though Brittany is pretty fabulous.
Well,
So
and with how busy I've been recently, I question my sanity on whether or not it's good to upgrade 4 accounts or not.
I question your sanity and Chewy's sanity and everybody's sanity who can run multiple accounts. No, I don't actually question it. I am
Oh, I
envious
do.
of, I should say, I am in envy uh, of your sanity because it would just be so much for me to like have
To
to
keep up
do
with all
feel,
of it.
yeah, like I'd be afraid it felt like a job. And
Well,
then,
so
once it's out there, then you're like, oh, now I'm behind. And it's like, no, I'll be all right.
so part of it has to do with my mental health. So when I stop doing something, so for example, let's take work. I love working. I love taking as many hours as possible. Granted, I have to balance that because if it's a week like this week where I'm just working tons and tons and tons of hours, then my brain gets oversaturated. But if the opposite happens, and sometimes it does during the summer because the summer is the slow time for my profession, and if I have, for example, Monday afternoon off, Tuesday afternoon off, and Wednesday afternoon offs, that's 3 afternoons off in a row. Well, then I start feeling like I don't have enough to do, and then I start to feel like depression coming on as a result of not having enough to do. So part of my
Yeah.
insanity is literally that, like it's my insanity because my brain needs something to focus on, which is why I love doing YouTube, for example. Point, 4 accounts, although it can be overwhelming, it's in a way, as long as I'm not too overwhelmed, it's good for my brain and it's good for my
Yeah.
mental health. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, and I totally relate to what you're saying. And I think the trick always is then is to be okay not filling it when you don't need to fill it. You know what I mean? Like the NCC account or something
Right.
like that,
Those
where you can be
accounts.
like, no, no, it's all right. I'll get them out there.
Yeah.
Or know what that. But I do the exact same thing, and I would do the exact. That's why I don't even log on with Brittany because the minute I have access, all of a sudden I have a decision to make whether or not she is like
The
upgrading
feel
or
the
not.
pull.
Yeah.
Feel the
Yeah.
pull. Like, oh,
"Oh,
I
but
got to
I just
check
wanna
in.
do this. Oh, but I
Yeah.
didn't I could have already collected this much elixir at this time." So,
And I guess it comes down to how important is it? So I have a max 11, 12, 13, and then I would like to max out a 14 and a 15. I already have max 16. So how important is it to me to max out this 14 and 15? And if I'm being real with myself, it's not that important. Like I used to do competitive wars, and I don't think that I will ever really get involved in serious competitive wars anymore just because the stress level that I had, like, it's so funny that you mentioned, "Oh, you're Mr. Miyagi and you're
you'll be
Mr. Tip Miyagi," and
you'll be
the
the boxing coach right there going, "Listen, when I was in the ring, this is what happened to me. Get out there and fight.
you're so
Go."
funny because, like, I'm a very average player, and I think, like, even in our L Wars, like, you have stepped up your game so much that literally you are 3-starring more than I do in most matches now. So the student has become the master, right?
I would disagree.
And well, I would you say that you are anything other than a casual player?
Well, I'm on my quest to become pro.
You're this is
In
true.
my 1
Your
year
quest to become a master?
to follow your training to lead me down the path. Um, well, the thing is about your attacks, is you will take the tough base. You will take a base that needs cracking. Um, it the base you choose is the base that I don't wanna choose
I guess I enjoy
90% of
it
the time.
if
Yeah,
I have time. So again, it comes down to time because like today, like I didn't even log into Clash of Clans all day. When you came on earlier for the podcast, you popped on. I was doing my first attack of the day, and it was what 7 o'clock at night. So I literally hadn't logged in all day. I if I want to get all my Legend League hits done today, that's 8 attacks that I still have to do. I have one done. So if I have time, then I love looking at a base and trying to crack it.
yeah,
But it's not always something that I have time for. And then also I have to balance that because again, if I don't have time, and this is where the competitive thing comes in, because you have to make time to crack bases because all of the bases are hard whenever you're doing competitive stuff. And if I don't have time to crack a base, then I'm just going to be more stressed out and feel horrible that I didn't
Yeah.
3-star the base, which again affects my mental health. So it's all
Know your
about
boundaries.
balance.
Know your
Right.
boundaries.
All of that.
Here's what I can handle, here's what I can't. Boom.
And
There's my
that's the tough
rule.
part
And
for
then it
me.
goes to self-trust and
Right.
self-boundaries and being like, "Hey," and I get it. It's
Yeah.
the
And having a
struggle
good
and
friend that's like, dude, you can, it's okay. Like you can sit out a war if you want. Like,
yeah, know your
yeah.
limits,
Yes,
right? Set
exactly.
it and then if you can get into a war, get in the war and get both of your attacks in.
Hmm.
That's it. If I can you sign up, that's it. Hey,
Right.
I'm willing to do it. And sometimes shit happens and you get it, and sometimes
Right.
it's a habit, that's a different thing. So, and that's what, and I think really starting to see like in L as we're getting more and more of these new people, um, a lot of communication, more communication going on just because like when I came back and we started podcasting and got into L and it was like, we were all pretty familiar with each other,
Hmm.
pretty good routine. We knew the rhythms, and now that we got some new members, we start to realize, okay, things get more complicated every time you bring in more,
Adds
and
complexity. Yeah.
then you start to know, hey, tax this way. This is kind of a base that's more of an air attack base. As
Hmm.
talking with some people, you don't have to hit your mirror. Look at the
Right.
base, go up if you want, go down if you want. And so just starting to do that has been pretty cool. And I think that's part of being in a clan is going, hey, we got your back, and what you need, what's best for you is best for all of us. And
Do you feel good about it? Because I know you've taken on the role, and you've always been leader, right? You've always been leader, but like you are, for example, I have run CWL and House of L. Chewy has run CWL and Angry Wookiees, and you've said, "Look, I'm going to learn how to do CWL. I'm going to take that over," which I mean, 100% great with. That's awesome. But also, in addition to that, with more members, like we're starting to coordinate friendly wars with L Reloaded. We're trying to maybe do special
Clash
events.
King,
We
yeah.
right, implementing the Clash King bot in the Discord L server. Like you're taking on a lot more, especially compared to when you first came back into the game and we had 15 members in House of L. Like what are you feeling about all of this addition of roles and responsibilities on you?
Well,
Are you good with it?
yeah, I've been baby stepping the whole time. I think started playing, December. There's Tip picks me up. And pretty soon we're doing a podcast. Then pretty soon we're doing another podcast
Which is
together.
crazy, especially
Eh,
considering the fact that I had sworn off Clash podcast for the
yeah.
rest of my life.
Every, everything that I had said right before I logged into Clash basically was like, all right, I'm going to log in, but I'm not going to get into any wars. I'm not going to,
Yeah.
all I'm going to do, I just want to see what the Christmas decoration is. Right.
Right?
And like, everything since then has been, baby stepping. Once we got into L and everybody's just kind of coordinating, and when we started to get more members, and then it's just been kind of ramping up, and I've been kind of preparing more like over the summer, doing things like getting the Discord set up a little bit more. Um, yeah, and I feel like that's kind of like the self boundary thing to say, hey, this is how much in terms of leadership, like let me just
Right.
try it on a little bit, see if I can manage it with everything going on, what kind of clan are we going to be, kind of thing. And now as more people come, I mean, these wars are just nutty to me. I don't know if this is what other clans are dealing with on a daily basis, but this uh the other team getting a perfect war all the time, not all the time,
Yeah.
but like it being like down to the wire. Like these are fun wars to me. Like, and
Yeah.
when we're just like, who knows if we're gonna pull this out? This
Right.
is gonna be a close one. I love that.
Yeah. The perfect war thing is an issue, I think, because number one, it affects the war economy. Because if you're not winning your wars, and if you're tying or if you're losing more often, then as a clan, like you're gaining less and less ore production. which I guess, like, to the winners go the spoils, like, I get that, but also with the ties, like, that affects ore production. But then also with, like, motivation. Like, if we're tying all the time because everybody's getting perfect wars, well, nobody's winning, and it doesn't like, so Supercell has left these
in core
higher hit
logs.
rates in place because they want players to feel good, and sure, it feels good to three-star the base, but if you essentially tie the war, then you're never winning. So that doesn't feel good. So it's like, okay, is Supercell allowing these hit rates to be so high and making Town Hall 16 easier to three-star, in effect backfiring because in essence it's leading to perfect wars where nobody's winning and everybody feels lousy. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't looking at the war log, it's like, oh, it looks a little painful, but I'm happy with all those wars.
Yeah, and
I mean,
they've
for the
been fun.
most part, especially because what's happening, I think, is that we're we're starting to gel, right? We're like we had the old guard, the skeleton, and as everybody's come in, it's like, okay. And I remember the last time when L started, this was about the point when things started to snowball, and when these wars got to be like this, it was like, impossible odds all the time.
Right.
Just up against it, and so, like, I would like it if it wasn't. I think a perfect war should be
It should only
hard.
be every now and again.
Yeah, it should be hard to do. It
Yeah,
should
it should
be
be
a
real.
feat.
You should never have 2 clans that are so good, essentially, unless, of course, you're doing, like, a 5v5.
Yeah.
Like, okay, fine, if you're doing a
Yep.
5v5. If you're doing a 30v30 or a 40v40, like, literally, there should almost never be perfect wars.
Yeah,
Like,
I
it
agree.
should be at the point where a tie means that you have, so if we look back in the old days, if you had Reddit troopers versus One Hive, or even House of L, like House of L versus One Hive, well, maybe in that instance you would see a perfect war, maybe, but that's only because you have 2 clans that are meeting that
And
are
it
just really, really good.
and that last star was fought for. It was
Right.
the Hail
It
Mary.
was maybe the last attack of the war to
Yeah.
determine whether or not you were able to tie in a perfect war or not.
Yep.
Not, "We're getting a perfect war and we still have 10 Town Hall 16 attacks left."
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
And I'm not saying that that's always happening to us, but
I think that's a good, description of kind of the clans we're going against, like, lately, because it's like they are hell-bent on war, they are well practiced, they are,
mhm,
like, and we're a new team working together, coming together. We're the fucking Rudy of it all, right? Like,
yeah,
that's what I
yeah,
love it. That's what I love about it. I think, like, I always have liked that L has been, like, a place where people are coming and learning,
yeah,
and and we're not recruiting or, like, only taking the max 16s kinda thing, right? Like, it is about the process, like, the team kinda thing, and where we're at is, like, maybe 3, 4 stars, 2 stars, 1 star even, or even close to a perfect on with our attacks or away from a win, but then it's the overkill, that
yeah.
kind of thing. And
When
so
your
it's
number
like,
1 gets smashed 10 times.
yeah, and I love it because I sit there and I've been watching attacks when I can, or like live as they're going on, and I'm thinking the people that have been in L now for a couple months, all of a sudden we're going in and doing 5%, 10% better on our first and second attack and
Right.
knocking bases out. And I think as L gets a month on the road, or 5, 2 months on, and we get that 5 or 10% better that everybody gets because people are participating, and, and we're seeing all these different attacks and we're looking at this stuff. Even that 5% all of a sudden tips the entire scale. And then, but at that point, I I would rather have it being like 99 to 100,
Right.
99 stars to 98 stars out of 100. Like that's where I would really like to see it. Where we're battling for those last stars. And I don't really mind being the underdog. I think like I would rather have a loss than like a boring farming war, you know?
Right. No, and I agree with that. I almost think that Supercell needs to create Division 1, Division 2, and Division 3 in regular Clan Wars, because when Ore was introduced, Clan
Oh,
Wars all of a sudden became super important, and, like, they do it for the clan capital. Like, you're in a specific league for the clan capital, Masters 1 or Champs 3, whatever, for the clan capital. So why not have those divisions within regular Clan Wars, so that way we're going against clans that are more equal to our ability and where we're going. And then when we have a war that we win, well, we're going up against somebody who's an equal Division 2 clan. We're not having to go against a Division 1 clan where all the players are 3-starring and then they smash our number 1 base 10 times.
Miyagi, you are a genius.
Yes,
You this is what it is. Hard mode clan wars.
Well, so the problem with hard mode, because I thought about that. The
Harder
problem with
mode.
hard mode clan wars is if they have mode clan wars, like, everybody's gonna wanna do it. Because nobody's gonna be like, "Oh, our clan goes on easy mode." You might have some clans, but I don't know. Let me ask you, if you had the option to click hard mode for regular clan wars to be matched against other clans who also clicked hard mode, would you choose hard mode, or would you wanna go against clans who also choose to not click hard mode for clan wars?
I would signal L's commitment to kicking ass and dominating the
In the
boards.
in
The
Division 2 or
journey of
Division 1?
L to progressing and showing the world that this clan can do it. Rudy, 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 right?
Right.
So I think that would be an awesome thing. It would be if it could put if hard mode could put the wars to what we're talking about, like not perfect or not like regular for everybody. Like the standard became hell to the yeah. Because I'd be like, all right, we're gonna prove ourselves in this arena and we're gonna practice in this arena because then down the road we wouldn't have to switch back, you know. And I kind of think that everybody that is in L or comes to L in the future are kind of people that want to be involved
Right.
in
They wanna
in
get
that
better.
next level without having to like to be part of a more maybe
Intense and
relaxed.
competitive.
Yeah.
Oh, right, right,
I
right,
mean,
right. So,
we're
there's a balance
competitive
for
and
sure.
intense, but it's we're like we're going for it, but not at the expense of our members, right? Or our team.
I think also recently, like, I've realized that, because I've had my main, for example, Tip Dog 20 in these, like, higher level clans, but I'm never gonna be, especially with me doing YouTube, like, I don't have the time. So, for example, when Town Hall 14 was max, I would go to these FC clans, and they have clans out there where you can go and all they do in the clans are friendly challenges. And when I had extra time, I would go there and I would practice for hours at a time, just hit FC after FC after FC. I don't have the time to do that anymore. So although I'm a decent player, I'm never going to be at the point where I can join a super competitive clan and be good enough to be on a competitive esports team. Like, I'm just never gonna be that good, right? So I've almost been like, well, do I need to have my main account in a super competitive war clan if the reason that I'm there is to possibly do competitive esports, but I'm never gonna do competitive esports? Well, maybe in that case, I should just I should just bring it back to L, because like I'm never gonna really, I don't have time to do competitive esports, so I might as well be around people with my
Chatting,
main
yeah.
account
Where
that
you're
I know and I can interact with and joke around with. rather than having these separate accounts that are in different clans everywhere. So I don't know.
Yeah.
That's something that I've
It
been thinking about recently as
was
well.
fun too. Last night we are doing like friendly challenges and uh Boots brought his account over
Hmm.
um and I think as we're kind of it's just we're getting stacked, and I think it never mattered in the past where we always ended up thrown up against big arena
A little
clans.
right. Yeah, and that's the
That's
way House of L's always been.
yeah, and I always thought, "Oh, yeah, I'd just be nice to have" and then you get one war, they don't put Clan Castle troops in, you're like, "Damn it. I
Yes.
wanna know what I, like, did." So I'd rather take that, like, any day.
And if they
Um,
created divisions, then that clan that's not willing to fill their war CCs, that's a Division 3 clan, right? And they have to earn their way up. So it's almost like Europe's soccer league system where you have to win a division or win a certain number of matches, or even like in Clan Capital, like you have to win. I don't know how the ranking system works in Clan Capital, but you have to like win a certain number of matches to be promoted to the next Clan Capital level, up from Masters 2 to Masters 1 within the Clan Capital arena. So why not implement that system in Clan Wars as well? So we don't go against these clans. Like we're definitely a solid Division 2 House of All clan that has the potential to be a Division 1 clan and really kick some ass in Division 1. Like I think we can get there
Crowd is
for
cheering.
sure.
The crowd is
Yes.
going wild.
Like we have the capability, but while we're, powerhousing as Division 2 team, we go up against these Division 1 clans and it's like crap. Like I don't like seeing our number 1 base smashed 10 times. But also at the same time, we don't like going up against Division 3 teams that don't even complete all their attacks, that don't fill their clan
Yeah.
castles. Like that team needs to be in the lowest division possible
Yeah.
because they're not even given an effort and we don't want to go against them anyway.
Yeah. I wanna be up against the toughest, like, I like it when we get these bases. So, like, this war, kinda looking at them, 'em, I'm going, "Are these trick bases?" How are they structured? I like it when and you can see it in certain clans where they've kind of I don't know if they must centralize their base building or something, and they've got real similar theme to most of their bases, or
Hmm.
the core is just like boom, it's a core base where they just the whole
Yeah.
clan.
Those are professionally built bases, essentially. Maybe not current meta, but within the past few months, those bases were built, most likely by a professional base builder.
Oh, okay.
But
And
that's
that
the reason they're so tough. You know what I mean?
yeah. Yeah, and I like going up when we see that kind of stuff going, okay, this is good for CWL. This is good
Yep.
for um that kind of stuff. And by the way, I've been defending in my clan wars. I have
Nice.
I internet based it, right?
Uh-huh.
So I
And
went
you move the traps around, you said?
yeah, I retrapped it. Because
Nice.
this is my new theory. Not my new theory. This is my new practice. Give them what so in internet base, right?
Mhm.
When you see something like that and you've experience with a similar base, you have an expectation. You have an expectation of where the traps are going to be, how you hit it, how somebody attacked it online, and then so I give them what they expect or what they think they're going to get, and then I retrap it a little bit. One defense, boom. That's awesome. Better than I could have done before. Which is wild. So I do have to ask you this. I know we're getting short on time. Tell me what you can about the battle drill. I don't see it very often, and I just got it. Is it worth I'm leveling it up. When do I wanna
Right?
use it?
So I don't see the battle drill used a lot. It whenever it first came out, it was used a lot with hybrid attacks. So you would do something like a queen charge, take the town hall down, and it was between a siege barracks and a um, battle drill. Like it was between those two, which one was used. And the reason was because of the stun effect, which we have Diggy. We got Diggy at Town Hall
Oh,
15, So this was more like Town Hall 14 and Town Hall 14 hybrid attacks when we didn't have Diggy. But even at Town Hall 15, where maybe you want another pet, or maybe you're going to pair it with Diggy. So hopefully the battle drill will stun one of the defenses and stop it, and then Diggy will possibly stun another defense and stop it. But the value is definitely in the stunning capability. I mean, it's just like Tip Dog 20. He's just absolutely stunning. And that's what makes me such an amazing player, right?
Oh yeah,
You're
beautiful.
So it was either, and we're just gonna forget about that whole dad joke. It was either between the battle drill or it was between the siege barracks, where if you were able to funnel down the side of a base with your king, then you didn't need the siege barracks to help you funnel, and then you could use the battle drill in its place. So because the goal was to keep the miners, which go for any building, you didn't want them to stray outside the base. So you would use the king
Oh,
to funnel down the side. That way the miners and the hogs would stay in the base. And as long as you didn't need that extra firepower with those P.E.K.K.A.s, well, then you could take out the siege barracks. You could throw in the battle drill, and the battle drill would stun the Inferno towers, for example,
that's what it
as
was
your
on that
hybrid approached it.
graphic. Yeah.
Right. And it was perfect for that. I will see it used now some with Root Riders, but again, it's mainly used where you don't need the funneling power of the siege barracks. But whenever the siege barracks went up to level 5, that made the siege barracks so freaking powerful that it almost never makes sense to use the battle drill over the siege barracks, because at level 4 only one P.E.K.K.A comes out, but at level 5 two P.E.K.K.As come out, which just kind of tips the scale in favor of just using a siege barracks every time because of the damage that you get with that extra P.E.K.K.A.
Could you so if it is getting hit, right? So it stuns that one thing, whatever it's on. And because I'm thinking of your attack that you're describing to me and my picturing it in my head. Um, does it take a lot of hits? Like if I was gonna send it like at a corner into an eagle, like typically if it's unaccompanied, does it last a little bit or
It doesn't have a lot of DPS. So you
okay.
will see, this is so rare. Like you don't see it that often, but you will see a battle drill for example, sometimes paired with like super wizards. And you know how I will do a blizzard where I'll send in a
Oh,
blimp? Well, maybe there's a bunch of traps in an area. I don't want to risk a blimp. And there's a short distance that I want that super wizard, not blimp, but super wizard, invis to go with a siege machine. So every now and again, you'll see a battle drill sent into a specific area in order to get the super wizards into a place that maybe it's not quite as safe for a battle
uh,
blimp to go. You'll see that every now and again, but the problem with the battle drill is the value of the battle drill is in its stunning capability, not its DPS. Like it has decent DPS, but the DPS is not high enough for it to really be able to effectively be sent into a base on a regular basis.
yeah.
Like it's just not that powerful enough when it comes to that. You will see pros use it that way every now and again, but especially in this meta, like I never see the battle drill sent in on its own.
And maybe even that's something I'd send in later, like a back end. Like,
So I had somebody who commented on a video one time who said that they like sending the battle drill in with the RC.
yeah.
So if you have the, for instance, Town Hall 16, you have the Spirit Fox on the RC. Well, you don't have Diggy on the RC in that instance. Well, the battle drill is going to go from defense to defense to defense because it's defense targeting. And so if you don't need the siege barracks or the blimp or whatever in another part of the base, well, then you can use the battle drill, pair it with the RC, send in the RC to do her sweep, and then you can have that stunning capability with the battle blimp. And since the speed is very similar, comparable, well, then you're essentially getting the power of Diggy along with the power of the Spirit Fox. The only problem is if you have the Spirit Fox on the RC is going to be going invisible, which means that the defenses are going to be targeting the battle
Oh,
drill, and the battle drill just it won't last a really long time.
Yeah.
And another thing is spells don't affect siege machines.
Yeah,
So what
bummer.
would be nice is if you could put an invis spell on top of that battle machine
Oh,
whenever
yeah. Oh,
the
I didn't think
RC
about
goes
that.
invisible, well, then you could save its ability even more. But
Yeah.
spells don't work on siege machines.
When you said spells, I wasn't thinking invisibility, but yeah,
Or like even rage. Like if you want to rage up a a battle drill into a section of the base, so that way
doesn't
it
work.
gets through it. Rage spells don't work on siege machines. Then it won't, and this spells will
I think I
not
might have
invis
assumed
your
they did.
yeah, none of that. So and that could be a change. Like maybe that's an inferno tower. Because used to you couldn't heal through an inferno tower, and then Supercell decided to change it. I mean, if siege machines could be used with spells, like that would make the meta even easier than it is
Yeah.
now. So I don't necessarily think that they need to make that change, but maybe they are able to adjust the meta where it's harder,
Huh.
and then they make the change. They backtrack into the change and allow spells, for example, to be used with siege machines. I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting because Daddy attacked last night and he did a queen walk funnel with the flinger, but I've been kind of looking for different entry approaches and he kind of
Mhm.
cut it in this way I hadn't really thought about and used a queen walk instead of a warden walk. And I was like, huh. But I've been thinking about how to use those siege or not the siege machines, but like any of the, yeah,
Yeah, any of the siege
any
machines.
siege
Right,
machine, like, does it always make sense to do it at the beginning? Or is there a way that could be advantageous to, like, dropping it in later and
right.
then,
Maybe with
um
your RC.
yeah, maybe with the RC, uh, or
And
if it
if so typically the best way to use an RC, for example, is to sweep an outer layer of defenses.
mhm,
So for instance, in your attack, where you're sending in the root riders and the super bowlers, they're kind of going into the middle. Well, that guts the base, but it leaves this outer core. And
mhm,
so in that case, if you're pairing the battle drill with the RC, well, they're going from defense to defense anyway, which means that the battle drill is not going to be under a lot of firepower, even when the RC is invisible. And the moment that that battle drill reaches that defense, it's going to stun it anyway and stop
yeah.
it from shooting. And then together, the pair will be able to destroy it pretty quickly. And then they'll move to the next defense in the line. So
Well,
that
I
may
don't
work
have
for
the
you,
Spirit Fox yet.
but you will when you go to Town Hall 16.
Yeah, yeah, and I got my Phoenix, and so that thing is going straight up. I got Diggy to 8, Phoenix is going to level 3 right now.
Have you considered the conversation we had earlier about the value of the freeze walrus with the phoenix? Like to compare the two, either getting more out of the king in the front end versus having the king, and I should have looked it up for 10 seconds. I don't know what max is for phoenix versus having the king for an extra 10 seconds at the end of the attack. Have you compared those to try to see which is working best for you?
I have not. So I just left everything the way it was
Hmm.
because I got to Tunnel 15 last month, so I just put Diggy down.
Right.
I've not even I just used Diggy for the first time, like, yesterday. And so, I think with my attacks and kinda looking at different attacks, like, in L and, like, seeing attacks online, uh, it seems like the Phoenix is used just consistently.
A majority of the time, yeah.
So
Although I've made the change.
have you?
So I've put Frosty. I like calling Freeze Walrus better. I put the Freeze
The
Walrus
Frieza.
on my the Freakazoid on my king because again, going back to Sunday's video, my king is funneling my super witches in, which means he's kind of walking around the base.
Yeah.
So because I have put the mustache and the gauntlet on the king, he's having massive healing effects, which means he's staying alive through the whole entire raid, which means the Phoenix is worthless in that instance. If he's staying alive the whole raid, well, then there's no reason the Phoenix is never going to activate anyway. So I might as well get value out of him by having the Freeze Walrus be dropping in those little balls of freeze, like freeze balls, into the
Damn it,
defenses
Tip.
as he's walking by.
That makes sense.
So that's what I've been doing. I've switched it out just because I feel like it benefits me more with the type of attack that I'm using. But
What's yours at? Like what level?
so all my pets are max
Oh, they are. Do you
on
use them?
my main.
Do you use them before they're maxed? Because that's my
Uh,
problem right now. Is that like there's only a few, so I'm just trying to
yeah.
prioritize.
Well, that kind of comes back to the same argument with equipment. Like, do you use equipment before it's max, or is it better to max 2 pieces for each, each hero, and use those 2 pieces while you're upgrading others? Is it better to max out one single pet and then only use those pets in pretty much every single situation while you're upgrading the freeze walrus, for example? Max out Diggy first and then focus on Frosty? Or is it better to kind of level them up equally all the way up? And I don't know the answer to that. I think that's player dependent.
Well, you kind of know me. when it comes to equipment, I'm just like jump right in. I'm doing it.
I think you should,
Well,
knowing Scotty 827, you should upgrade each of the pets equally.
well, no, with the pets, I have been jumping in because I
Hmm.
listened to you like what you were saying about and seeing people in the clan too. Like if these are the pets that are the ones that most people are using, you're going to use most, just do those right away. And so when I've unlocked them, and like I was going to take Diggy all the way up to 10, but I thought if they're like when I get the Spirit Fox, by about the time I'd get done with the Phoenix, would probably be about the time I would be getting the Spirit Fox and the other ones. And so prioritize the ones that are probably the most powerful to get to max out and then go back.
So the Phoenix does have one really big benefit with it, especially if you're using the Giant Gauntlet and the Rage File, which is the combination that a lot of players use. Is with the Phoenix, if the king dies before the active ability is finished, so when you press the Giant Gauntlet and the Rage File, he gets really big and mad. He starts destroying things all over the base. Well, maybe as a player, I wasn't quite as attentive, and so I was late on hitting the ability. And while he's only 5 seconds into the ability, the Giant Gauntlet lasts 17 seconds, the Rage File lasts 10 seconds. He dies after 5 seconds. Well, the beauty of the Phoenix is that it will bring him alive, and it doesn't bring him back as a
Michael
regular
Myers.
king. It brings him in wherever he was at the end of at the middle of his ability. So you still get that Giant Gauntlet effect
Oh,
with the Phoenix, even though I was a little lazy as a player and I was late on hitting the ability. Well, I still get the Giant Gauntlet effect
that's
with the
cool.
Phoenix, even though I didn't play it right. So the Phoenix allows the ability to play itself out all the way to the end.
And I think for me, like that's where I probably need it the most is like the king usually peters out, like it gets 85% of the way.
Right?
And so maybe that'll just be the tipping point.
Yeah, to get down that one or two extra defenses,
Yeah.
or even if he's like hitting a wall and there's a queen right on the other side of the wall, well, she kills the king because he's trying to beat through the wall to get to her. He does one swipe, he dies. Phoenix brings him back to life. He still has the gauntlet ability on him, so he's still able to do that splash damage through the wall, and he's able to finish off the queen
Yeah.
in those last few swipes
Cause those,
because of the Phoenix.
it's been like time, it's been pretty close. Like this last one, I'm like, thank God I had that recall. I think I would have got it. But I think the last time we talked, I was talking about how good I was doing. And then I went into a slump where I was just the really high percentage, but not quite getting it. And
Right.
so yeah, it's just like those clean. So any of that extra edge but I noticed that hero upgrade really making a
Hmm.
difference.
Yep.
We're doing it. We're going to do it. Well, should we wrap up? We could probably
Yeah,
get to
probably now's a good time.
the songs next week, and I'm gonna do it so I can try to play a little clip of
Oh yeah, that would be awesome.
the suggestions.
So thank you. Like I wanted to, if we're doing shout outs now. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to shout out Scotty827 because when I came on this call, like I've had a crazy week, and mentally I was not in a spot where I needed to be. And I think you noticed that. I think you like we had a
I
moment
know the
in the
feeling.
podcast
Yeah.
where you stopped and you're like, "You okay? Like it is everything, you know?" And I was like, "Look, let's just push through it." And definitely like it's weird. Like I don't know how to describe my brain better other than like I have it's almost like you know that what is it called? Kerplex or where you have all the little almost looks like spaghetti um little plastic pieces and they're all they fall down and you have
Yeah.
to pick up the pieces without making the like they're all jumbled, or let's just say you dump out a box of spaghetti on the floor and all the spaghetti pieces are all over the place.
Yeah.
That's where my brain was. The spaghetti plate pieces were dumped out on the countertop, all laying across each other. They were in no specific order, which doesn't work well for my brain. And slowly, you have been picking up the pieces and realigning them so that my brain can actually work right. So, shout out to you.
Well, that's how I
Thank
feel
you.
every time we talk because it's like it's a nice, fun time to chill out and get away from everything else. And
Right, de stress.
yeah,
So, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And then, shout out to all the new members. I don't have their names off top of my head, but we've had a ton of new people join. So huge shout out to everybody.
yeah. I'm gonna shout out your $100 video. I think it's
That's the
actually
one from this morning.
well. I think what it's really cool about it, like we've talked about a lot of the stuff, and you've done a lot of YouTube videos over the last few months, but really kind of it puts it all together and everything about like is the Builder Apprentice worth it? You know, all these different things, and it's kind of like state of the game. Like here's where you'd spend your money now, kind of thing,
Hmm.
which is helpful. Like okay, you know, now that the picture's painted,
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
I I don't even want to tell you what it looks like I wrote down here. It's a very bad
is it
word.
is it appropriate?
No, very, very bad word. Uh, uh,
Oh crap! I grabbed the wrong notebook.
um, oh, here it is. Shout out to speaking of new members, hell, fucking hell,
Hmm.
devious. Uh, I every week I forget to shout out the monster. Um, that attacks. That is all of those people. Um,
Hmm.
and shout out to I'm just gonna do a few shout outs. NM, Moon, uh, Daddy O,
Hmm.
Joe 420. And I'll try to get to everybody else this week because since I
Yeah, we need to
don't
check
have
because and they're all super active. I love how active they are in chat. It's gotten to the point where every time I log in, like there's a whole new thing that I have to scroll up to and
yeah,
read through. Like it's been great.
yeah,
I
it's fun.
appreciate it.
It's been fun. So
Yeah.
you can check out the House of L. The information is on the House of L or on the Clash of Clans podcast.com website. You can check there. Or if you go to the clan description, you'll see it in House of L. Search for it, and you'll see podcast is listed under there. And there's also the Discord is under there too. So I'll try to get the information out in a more public place. But as we've been kind of ramping up, it's like going strong. So finally got the Discord stuff up in the clan description. We didn't have that before. And
Yeah.
so you can get your songs in too.
And what is it? So the Discord, it's tinyurl slash
HOEL, all
a
capitals.
it's HOEL, right? Sorry, I was thinking. Yeah, I thought you were saying HOL.
Oh, yeah.
In my
I'm like
brain,
in
I
my
was
brain,
hearing
I'm trying.
HOL. It's HOEL, right? But
Yeah,
which
oh, yeah, I
sounds
suppose I
like
could just say that.
HOL.
Yeah.
HOEL.
tinyurl.com/HOEL, House of L, Discord in small letters. Discord is in small letters. So
Nice.
I believe that should be working. So we have a podcast discussion there if you want to join, or if you want to talk to, see if you want to join L too. You can just inquire
Or
there.
read the Pepe memes,
Yeah,
which we
read the
need to
Pepe.
read because some of
Yeah,
those have
we
been
have to.
hilarious.
I know I've been looking through them and posting a few myself. So Get a hold of us, Clash of Clans Podcast, gmail.com. You can call or text 320-216-2073. That's 320-216-2073. Follow Tip, Clash Tips, YouTube, and Clash Tips Podcast. Anything else I'm forgetting?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, we'll catch up and get into talking about the Magic stuff because I've been playing with it, so I want to kind of give an update on it too. So
Yeah, next week
yeah.
for sure.
All right. Well, keep it clashy, everybody.
Keep it clashy.
Skilly beep boop, skilly beep.